very good question. There were just, I guess, huge challenges were faced by the organisation on a lot of different levels in terms of COVID, and I guess that's no different to anyone else. In society, we were all dealing with something that no one had ever dealt with before. So as a result, we were having to be very flexible and, work with policy that was being and I guess just different decisions that were being made by the government on the run based on what was happening at the time, which is understandable, but absolutely it was a huge challenge. It was a challenge for the organisation in terms of the workload and we had to cancel a number of competitions. We had to restructure and modify other competitions. So, and then things like our elite competition, like Origin, was played at the very end of the year just recently in November, as opposed to the middle of the year. Some of our second tier competitions like Canterbury Cup basically started, it had been played for 2 weeks and then that was it. It didn't play again for the rest of the year. Our junior competitions, our community football hadn't actually started at the time that COVID was really when things were first very serious, and we weren't even sure that community football was going to get off the ground. So that was like, we have almost 100,000 people, registered participants across the whole of New South Wales, sort of in limbo, wondering what they were going to do in winter. Everyone had been getting all ready to play, and then all of a sudden there was this, we didn't know what was happening and whether we could. And certainly our organisation and other state organisations worked very hard with the government to make sure that we did get a competition off the ground, even though it was modified. So we ended up, we had to do a lot of work to reschedule and to reshape what competitions look like. From our organisation's point of view, we were doing regular communications with all of our members, which involved a lot of work, and we also had to produce a lot of resources. We produced stickers, posters, all sorts of things for 700 clubs in our state, and had to get that sort of out. We had to produce resources to educate our volunteers on how they could implement COVID-safe structures and formats and policies at their grounds, which is a huge challenge again in itself. There were different rules for people going to community footy this year. It wasn't the same, initially when they started back training, and all of this was based around rules that were set by the government and public health orders, etc. They weren't actually rules that we as a sport put in place, but we had to follow them to ensure that our participants could actually get to play. And that was the key thing for us. We just wanted the kids in particular to be able to get out and run around and just enjoy footy. So we were prepared to do whatever it was that we had to, which meant, only one parent attending, a drop and run policy. There's no singing, club songs, and there was all sorts of different rules, but again, no different to other rules that were happening in society as well. So absolutely, there were a lot of challenges related to that. So for this year, in terms of, the question, I guess, was also about what are we doing post-COVID? We're looking to 2021. COVID still has an impact on how that will look. And again, as we're hearing today, things keep changing, and we have to be, I guess, we've got to be proactive in a sense of, we're still preparing to roll out COVID safety plans based on the current government orders. But we're now allowed to have more people at the grounds, but we also have to be, I guess, flexible because we'll have to, as we were this year, you are reactive in a way to the changes that happen at any given moment. So that's where we're at with going forward for next year. Rugby league, there's sort of worked out an average cost is around $130 for the season. But there are some clubs which charge nothing. They subsidise children playing through other sorts of funding or grants that they have, and obviously others charge more. With that that cost, for some that includes socks, shorts, training jersey, etc. So it does vary, but on average it would be around $130. Fortunately, the state government has a great initiative, which is the Active Kids Voucher. So every child twice a year gets an opportunity to spend $100. So if you apply that to obviously those fees, and it's really inexpensive. It could cost you $20 or $30 to play for a whole season. So it's really very affordable. The rugby league is sort of, I guess, funded from the top sort of down. Participants don't pay any levies to the state body or the national body, so that helps to keep the costs the way they are as well. I know from, my children play other sports as well, and talking to other parents, I certainly know that soccer is a lot more expensive. AFL's relatively similar, but it is very reasonable when you use the Active Kids Voucher. And again, parents get the opportunity to get 2 of those a year, so they can use it for a summer sport and a winter sport. Certainly what Stuart's saying, I've got 2 young boys. Both my boys have played rugby league. And, I think the whole myth that, and again, Stuart touched on it before when he said what the children are playing is not NRL. They're kids. They're playing a modified form of the game, and safety and their well-being is of the utmost importance for us. And really all we're doing is providing an activity where they're moving and they're having fun and they're making friends. They're the key things about it. It's really about them having fun and being active. It's not about hit hard tackles and all of that sort of stuff. That can come much later. As kids, you want them to be kids, you want them to have fun. And rugby league's a great way to do that. And it's a great, from a social aspect as well, the friendships that they make, they have them for a long time.